gastric brooding frog, the mother who literally swallowed her kids. If you think parenting is hard, imagine being the gastric brooding frog. This bizarre Australian amphibian evolved the ultimate bad idea that worked for a bit. Instead of laying eggs in ponds, the female swallowed them. Yup, she turned her stomach into a nursery. Enzymes that normally digest food switched off, and her belly ballooned into a frog daycare. Weeks later, fully formed baby frogs hopped out of her mouth like some horrifying magic trick. It sounds incredible, but here's where evolution said, yeah, but let's make this inconvenient. During pregnancy, the female frog couldn't eat at all, meaning she basically starved herself for her babies. Worse, they're all extinct now. Both species wiped out by disease and habitat loss in the 1980s. So evolution's genius hack ended up being a dead end. Imagine if humans gave birth by spitting out toddlers after 9 months of not eating. That's the level of nonsense we're talking about. Babirusa, the pig with self-kill tusks. At first glance, babirusas look like pigs. Then you see the tusks and think, that can't be right. Native to Indonesia, male babirusas grow upper tusks that curl backward and upward, straight toward their skull. Unlike regular boars that use tusks for fighting, babirusas grow so far they can literally stab themselves in the face. It's like evolution gave them built-in suicide swords. Scientists think they use them for display, not combat. But even then, the tusks are fragile and can snap during fights. Females don't have them, making this strictly a male problem. So if you're a babirusa, congratulations, your own teeth are trying to kill you. It's as if humans grew fingernails that curled around and pierced our eyes. Somehow, babirusas still exist. Maybe because they're too weird for predators to bother with. But it's a prime example of evolution saying, let's see how far we can push dental horror. Kiwi, the bird that got all the wrong features. New Zealand's kiwi bird looks like evolution tried to design a chicken at 2 a.m. after 6 beers. First, it's flightless. Fine, plenty of birds are. But kiwis also lay eggs the size of ostrich eggs, sometimes taking up 20% of the female's body weight. Imagine giving birth to something the size of a toddler. That's a kiwi's reality. To make matters worse, their feathers are more like shaggy fur, their eyesight is terrible, and their wings are basically invisible stubs. Instead, kiwis rely on a super sensitive beak with nostrils at the tip, sniffing out insects like a weird bird bloodhound. Cute? Yes. Practical? Not really. They're also nocturnal, making them vulnerable to predators introduced by humans like dogs and stoats. In short, kiwis are fluffy icons held together by bad design choices. They've survived only because New Zealand had no land predators for millions of years. Take them out of that bubble, and nature's strangest bird is basically toast. Male Antechinus, the mammal that dies of sex. The male Antechinus is an Australian marsupial that proves some creatures will literally die for love. Each breeding season, males go into a 3-week mating frenzy. They stop eating, stop sleeping, and mate with as many females as possible, sometimes for 14 hours straight. Then they collapse, their immune systems destroyed, their organs failing. By the end of the season, every single male is dead, all of them. Evolution's logic? The males pass on their genes in one final reproductive sprint, leaving females to raise the young alone. It's brutal, but it works. Kind of. Still, imagine if humans worked like this. Every summer, guys vanish from society after a marathon Tinder spree. It's both horrifying and darkly hilarious. Evolution really said, who needs fathers when you can just burn out spectacularly? Blobfish, the poster child of evolutionary failure. Ah yes, the blobfish, often voted the world's ugliest animal, but it's not even its fault. Deep in the ocean, at 4,000 feet below, blobfish look fairly normal. jelly-like bodies perfectly adapted to high pressure. But when dragged to the surface, the lack of pressure makes them collapse into sad gelatinous lumps. Basically, they're victims of physics, not bad design. Still, from our perspective, blobfish look like melted clay with a permanent frown. They don't swim much, just hover and gulp whatever drifts by, making them the laziest predators alive. They're so fragile their muscles are basically pudding, relying on buoyancy to survive. So yes, blobfish are screwed, not because evolution failed them, but because humans keep hauling them up and taking memes. They're like nature's sad comedy act, doomed to look like deflated balloons every time they see daylight. Octopus, the genius trapped by biology. Octopuses are brilliant, masters of camouflage, problem solvers, even escape artists. They can open jars, mimic other animals, and squeeze through holes the size of a coin. Sounds like an evolutionary win, right? Here's the catch. They die after mating. Female octopuses lay thousands of eggs, guard them obsessively, and then starve to death once the babies hatch. Males don't fare much better. After mating, they wander aimlessly until their bodies shut down. So despite having alien-level intelligence, octopuses barely get 2 years to live. Giant species maybe 5. It's like giving Einstein the brain of Einstein, but the lifespan of a housefly. Add to that their soft, squishy bodies that can't handle predators, and you've got nature's ultimate tragic genius. Basically, octopuses are the superheroes of the sea, cursed with brilliance, doomed by biology. Sloth, the animal that chose, lagging as a lifestyle. The sloth looks like evolution clicked low power mode and never turned it off. Everything about them screams slow. They move at less than 1 foot per minute. Their metabolism is glacial, and it can take them a month to digest a single leaf. Their slowness helps them avoid predators, but it also means they're constantly flirting with death. Sloths even risk their lives just to poop, climbing down from trees once a week to dig a little hole where jaguars and eagles can ambush them. It's like if humans had to commute to the most dangerous part of town just to use the bathroom. Oh, and sometimes they mistake their own arms for tree branches and fall. They survive because they're cute, camouflaged, and trees don't complain. But in terms of design, the sloth is basically running on Windows 95 in a 5G world. Male fiddler crab, the one-armed bodybuilder. Male fiddler crabs are iconic for their giant claw, which they wave around to attract mates. Problem is, this one massive claw makes them terrible at actual survival. It's clunky, heavy, and useless for feeding. So they're stuck with one tiny claw to do all the eating. Basically, they've traded half their functionality for a built-in pickup line. And it gets worse. They'll wave the claw even when predators are nearby, because showing off is more important than safety. If they lose the claw, it regrows, but only as the smaller version, meaning their dating life is over. It's like if humans had to choose between having one giant bicep for flexing or 2 normal arms for eating. Evolution made fiddler crabs the ultimate gym bros, all show, no function. Philippine tarsier, the cute creature that can't handle stress. Philippine tarsiers are tiny primates with huge eyes, each bigger than their brains. They look adorable, but evolution cursed them with extreme fragility. For starters, their eyes are locked in place so they can't move them. Instead, they swivel their heads 180 degrees like owls. But here's the real kicker. Tarsiers are so sensitive to stress that they can literally die from it. Loud noises, bright lights, even being handled too much can cause them to stop breathing. They're also prone to hurling themselves against cage walls if panicked. Cute? Absolutely. Practical survival traits? Not so much. Basically, they're like Windows Vista. They crash if you even look at them wrong. Evolution made them adorable, but also the ultimate anxiety machines. Male peacock, the fashion victim. Peacocks look beautiful. To us. To predators, they look like neon buffets. Male peacocks evolved giant, flashy tail feathers covered in eye spots to attract females. The bigger and brighter the tail, the better their mating chances. But here's the problem. The tail makes them slow, clumsy, and highly visible. It's like wearing a sequin jumpsuit in a war zone. Scientists call this the handicap principle. Basically, look how hot I am. I can survive even with this ridiculous disadvantage. But in real life, it means running from predators while dragging a feather parachute. Females don't get the tail, so the guys are the only ones screwed. Imagine if human males had to wear giant neon signs saying "Pick me" while sprinting from lions. That's a peacock's life. Luna moth, the insect with no mouth. The Luna moth is stunning. Pale green wings, delicate tails, a true work of art. But evolution forgot one small detail. It has no mouth. That's right, adult Luna moths emerge, can't eat, and live only a week. Their sole purpose is to mate before they starve to death. It's like evolution's speed-running existence. Caterpillars eat plenty, so the adult stage runs entirely on stored fat. Still, it feels unfair. Imagine if humans graduated college and immediately had 1 week to find a partner before dropping dead. On the bright side, Luna moths don't have to worry about diets. On the dark side, they're doomed to beauty without longevity. Basically, they're nature's one-hit wonder. Gorgeous, fleeting, and absolutely impractical. Ocean sunfish, the big dumb pancake. The ocean sunfish, or mola mola, is proof that evolution sometimes just shrugs. Weighing up to 2 tons, it's the heaviest bony fish alive, but it's shaped like a giant floating pancake. They can't close their mouths properly. They flop around when trying to swim, and jellyfish are their main diet. Yes, the lowest calorie meal in the ocean. Sunfish spend much of their lives just drifting, often getting mistaken for UFOs by sailors. And despite their size, they're defenseless, relying on sheer bulk to survive. Oh, and they produce up to 300 million eggs at once, which sounds impressive until you realize most of them never make it. The sunfish is a floating paradox, enormous, clumsy, and borderline useless. It's like evolution said, what if we designed a fish in PowerPoint? Tuatara, the reptile that refuses to move on. The tuatara of New Zealand is often called a living fossil, and that's not a compliment. They look like lizards, but they're the only survivors of an ancient reptile order that peaked 200 million years ago. Evolution basically left them behind. Tuataras grow slowly, reproduce painfully slowly. Females lay eggs once every 4 years, and they live in cold climates that make them sluggish. They do have a cool third eye on top of their heads, but it doesn't see, it just detects light. Impressive in theory, useless in practice. Tuataras have survived by sheer stubbornness, not efficiency. They're basically the Windows XP of reptiles. Outdated, slow, but still somehow running. Sea lilies, the plants that aren't plants. Sea lilies, or crinoids, look like underwater flowers, but they're actually animals. They've been around for 500 million years, clinging to rocks with stalks while waving feathery arms to catch food. The problem? They can't move fast. At all. Most are permanently stuck, relying on currents to bring food. That's fine until predators show up. Some species can crawl slowly, but their escape speed is about 1 inch per minute. Not exactly Olympic. So while they look beautiful, they're basically sitting duck plants. The only reason they still exist? They live in the deep sea, where fewer predators bother them. Sea lilies are evolution's way of saying, what if we made flowers that could suffer? Gorgeous, fragile, and forever stuck waiting for scraps. Dolphins and ichthyosaurs. Déjà vu in the ocean. If you plopped a dolphin and an ichthyosaur side by side, you'd think they were cousins. Sleek torpedo-shaped bodies, fins instead of legs, long snouts full of teeth. They look like twins separated at birth. But here's the kicker. Dolphins are mammals, descended from land animals that waddled back into the sea 50 million years ago. Ichthyosaurs? They were reptiles that ruled the oceans over 200 million years ago, during the dinosaur age. They never met, never shared a family tree, and yet ended up rocking the exact same outfit. Why? Convergent evolution. If you want to move fast underwater, nature keeps coming back to the streamlined fish torpedo design. The resemblance is so uncanny that when ichthyosaur fossils were first discovered in the 1800s, people thought they were ancient dolphins. Both groups even gave birth to live young instead of laying eggs, complete with fossilized ichthyosaurs caught in the act of labor. It's like evolution beta-tested dolphins, scrapped the prototype, then re-released it with mammals. Today, dolphins leap out of waves while ichthyosaurs exist only in museums. But the ocean's déjà vu design proves that when it comes to survival, copying the homework works just fine. Phytosaurs and crocodiles, swamp bosses. Crocodiles are some of Earth's most successful predators, surviving nearly unchanged for 200 million years. But rewind further to the late Triassic, and you'll find phytosaurs, swamp-dwelling reptiles that looked almost identical. Long snouts, armored backs, ambush tactics in rivers. They were basically crocodile prototypes, except they weren't crocs at all. Phytosaurs belong to a completely different reptile group. The only giveaway? Their nostrils. Crocodiles have nostrils at the tip of their snouts. Phytosaurs had theirs way up near the eyes, like a snorkel in the wrong place. Still, they filled the same ecological niche. The swamp boss, lurking in muddy waters, waiting to snap unsuspecting prey. When phytosaurs went extinct around 200 million years ago, true crocodiles showed up and said, "Thanks for warming the seat." To this day, crocs remain the ultimate ambush predators, outliving dinosaurs, mammals, and even human civilizations. So really, phytosaurs were crocs version 1.0, a solid idea, but evolution rebooted it with a better design that's still terrifying us today. Imagine being an early amphibian. Doesn't matter which swamp you picked, odds were something croc-shaped was already waiting to ruin your day. Stomatosuchus and whales, the big-mouthed filter feeders. If baleen whales had a prehistoric cosplay partner, it would be Stomatosuchus. This bizarre reptile from Cretaceous Egypt was a distant relative of crocodiles. But instead of snapping jaws, it had a long, flat mouth like a giant pancake flipper. Scientists think it was a filter feeder, scooping up plankton and small fish by opening its enormous jaw and straining food out. Exactly what modern whales do with baleen plates. Sadly, the only known fossils were destroyed in World War II, so we're stuck with descriptions and drawings. But the comparisons are clear. Stomatosuchus was essentially a reptilian pre-whale, gliding through rivers and lakes with a gaping mouth built for bulk feeding. Unlike modern crocs, which chomp anything that moves, Stomatosuchus was a gentle giant, hoovering up tiny prey like a prehistoric blue whale. And here's the wild part. Filter feeding is so effective that evolution has tried it multiple times. In whales, in basking sharks, in manta rays, and here in a croc relative. Stomatosuchus might be gone, but it proves that when nature hits on a great idea, open mouth wide, eat everything small, it doesn't mind running the playbook twice. Armadillos and ankylosaurs, nature's living tanks. If evolution has a favorite hobby, it's building tanks. In the Cretaceous, dinosaurs like ankylosaurs perfected the walking fortress design. Bony armor plates covering their backs, spikes on their sides, and even tail clubs to bash predators. Fast forward to today, and the armadillo is running the same play, but scaled down to football size. Both use osteoderms, bone deposits under the skin, as natural armor. Ankylosaurs were multi-ton beasts shrugging off T-Rex attacks, while armadillos roll into tight balls to shrug off coyotes. Different times, different sizes, same strategy, survive by being too tough to chew. The similarities are so strong that paleontologists often compare ankylosaur fossils to prehistoric armadillos on steroids. Of course, ankylosaurs had the extra perk of swinging their tails like wrecking balls, whereas armadillos' best move is playing dead. Still, it works. Both groups lasted millions of years. Ankylosaurs went extinct with the dinosaurs, but armadillos carry on the armored tradition. Basically, nature's tank design was so good, it built a giant version for dinosaurs and a pocket-sized version for the modern desert. Evolution loves armor, and sometimes it recycles its best ideas. Placerias and elephants, the gentle giants of their time. Before elephants stomped across Africa and Asia, the Triassic had placerias. These tusked, barrel-bodied herbivores weren't related to elephants at all. They were decinodonts, a weird side branch of mammal ancestors. But they looked and behaved uncannily like early elephants. Huge size for protection, tusks for digging and fighting, and herds grazing on plants. At around a ton in weight, Placerias was the largest herbivore of its era, the Triassic's landlord of the floodplains. They didn't have trunks, which makes them look like elephants that forgot to install a nose, but the parallels are striking. Just like elephants today, they shaped their ecosystems by trampling vegetation and digging for roots. Sadly, Placerias died out as dinosaurs rose to dominance, but elephants later filled the same role, bigger, smarter, and with that iconic trunk upgrade. You could almost say Placerias was Elephant 1.0, the beta version of the giant tusked herbivore strategy. Their resemblance shows that when ecosystems need a heavyweight gardener, evolution knows exactly what shape to reach for. Ceratopsids, rhinos, and Trigodon, the horned heavyweights. What's better than one horned animal? Evolution making 3 different versions. In the late Cretaceous, dinosaurs like Triceratops evolved massive horns and frills, charging around like armored bulldozers. Millions of years later, mammals tried the same look. Rhinos, with single or double horns, filled grasslands with their tanky, bad-tempered bodies. And then there's Trigodon, a prehistoric South American beast often dubbed a false rhino, rocking a giant nasal horn despite being unrelated to either rhinos or ceratopsids. All 3 had the same stick a horn on the front and dare predators to attack strategy. Triceratops used its frill and horns for defense and display. Rhinos joust with rivals today, and Trigodon did both. The weird part? None of them are related. Horns just keep happening because they're useful. And, let's face it, they look awesome. It's like nature's favorite weapon accessory, slapped onto reptiles, mammals, and everything in between. Whether it's a T-Rex, a lion, or a Jeep Safari, horns make you think twice before messing around. Pachyrhicos and rabbits, déjà vu hoppers. Millions of years before Europe and Asia gave us rabbits, South America had Pachyrhicos. This little mammal looked and behaved almost exactly like a rabbit. Big hind legs for hopping, long ears for detecting predators, and ever-growing teeth for chewing plants. But here's the twist. Pachyrhicos wasn't a rabbit at all. It was a marsupial, part of a completely different family tree. Rabbits are placental mammals, closer to us than to this prehistoric hopper. Yet both evolved the same lifestyle, small, fast, and always one step ahead of predators. Fossils suggest Pachyrhicos darted around Miocene grasslands, munching leaves and hiding in burrows, rabbiting before rabbits existed. Scientists call this convergent evolution, but it's basically nature's way of saying, why reinvent the wheel? Just make another bunny, Rabbits went on to conquer almost every continent, while pacharucos eventually vanished. Still, it proves hopping herbivores are such a good idea that evolution couldn't help but make them twice. Henodus and turtles, the pancake prototypes. When you see Henodus, your brain instantly says, turtle. Flat shell-like body, stubby flippers, slow lifestyle. It's a turtle imposter from the Triassic. Except it wasn't a turtle at all. Henodus was a placodont, a marine reptile distantly related to plesiosaurs. Instead of jaws, it had strange ridged plates in its mouth, which scientists think it used for filter feeding. So while it looked like a turtle, it behaved more like a weird reptilian vacuum cleaner. Turtles didn't evolve until later, but they ended up with almost the same body plan. Armor on top, paddle-like limbs, slow but steady swimming. The resemblance is so uncanny that Henodus fossils often confuse people into thinking turtles existed millions of years earlier than they actually did. In reality, Henodus was just evolution's test run. It's proof that the pancake with armor design is too good to pass up. So nature ran it twice, once with placodonts and once with true turtles that are still with us today. Reninids and stingrays, the flat killers. Over 380 million years ago, the seas had reninids, armored flat-bodied fish that hugged the ocean floor. With wing-like fins and broad shapes, they looked eerily like modern stingrays. But instead of smooth cartilage bodies, reninids were covered in bony plates, making them the medieval knights of the ocean floor. They weren't fast or elegant, just flat predators waiting to snap up anything that crawled past. Millions of years later, stingrays perfected the same look, ditching the armor for sleek, agile swimming and adding venomous tails for good measure. The similarity is striking. Two unrelated groups of fish, separated by hundreds of millions of years, both decided that pancake with wings was the ultimate bottom-dwelling design. Reninids may be extinct, but their strategy clearly worked, because stingrays are now thriving in oceans worldwide. Evolution clearly loves making flat, winged fish. It just needed a second draft to smooth out the kinks. Aquilolamna and manta rays, the Cretaceous kites. In 2021, paleontologists unveiled a truly bizarre shark. Aquilolamna, living 90 million years ago, it had the body of a shark but with long, flat fins stretching out like airplane wings. The result? It looked almost identical to a manta ray. Scientists believe it was a filter feeder, gliding through the seas and scooping plankton with its wide mouth. Sound familiar? Because modern manta rays do the exact same thing, except they evolved millions of years later from a completely different lineage. Aquilolamna vanished in the mass extinction that killed the dinosaurs, leaving the winged plankton eater niche empty. Eventually, manta rays stepped up and filled the role, perfecting the graceful ocean-soaring lifestyle. The resemblance is so uncanny, it's like evolution recycled its old shark sketch and said, let's try this again with rays. Imagine swimming in the Cretaceous seas. You'd swear a manta was gliding overhead, but it was actually a shark impersonating the role 90 million years too early. Suminia and monkeys, the prehistoric tree pioneers. Before monkeys swung through jungles, there was Suminia. This small Permian reptile, living 260 million years ago, was one of the first vertebrates adapted for life in trees. With long limbs, grasping hands, and a balancing tail, it clambered through branches much like modern primates do. Its teeth suggest it ate leaves, making it the prehistoric prototype of a tree-dwelling herbivore. The parallels with monkeys are uncanny. Both used grasping digits, both had flexible limbs, and both specialized in the treetop lifestyle. But Suminia wasn't a mammal. It was a synapsid reptile, closer to the ancestors of mammals than to primates themselves. Still, it shows how early evolution was already experimenting with the tree climber blueprint. Monkeys didn't appear until over 200 million years later, but when they did, they perfected the same strategy with brains, social groups, and incredible agility. Suminia may have looked clunky compared to a monkey, but it proves the idea of tree life was so good, evolution wrote it down twice. Axolotl, the Peter Pan of evolution. The axolotl is what happens when evolution forgets to hit grow up. Native to the ancient lakes of Mexico, this adorable salamander is famous for staying a forever baby. Most amphibians start life as aquatic tadpoles, then grow lungs and legs to live on land. But not the axolotl. It said, "Nah, I'm good here," and stayed in its larval form for life, complete with gills, flappy head frills, and a smile that looks like it just got away with something. This phenomenon, called neoteny, breaks one of evolution's biggest rules, metamorphosis. Yet, it works. Axolotls reach full reproductive maturity without ever leaving the water. They can regrow entire limbs, parts of their spinal cord, even bits of their brain. Scientists study them for regenerative medicine, trying to steal their superpower. The irony? Axolotls are on the brink of extinction in the wild, surviving mostly in labs. They might look like Pokemon, but they're actually rebels of biology, refusing to age, healing from almost anything, and making every other amphibian look boring. Evolution wanted them to become salamanders. They decided to become legends instead. Platypus, the Frankenstein mammal. If evolution ever held a drunken build-an-animal contest, the platypus won. It's a mammal that lays eggs. It has fur and produces milk, but it also has a duckbill, webbed feet, and a tail like a beaver. Oh, and the males are venomous. When the first specimen was sent to England in the 1700s, scientists literally thought it was a hoax. They tried to pull the duckbill off, assuming someone had stitched it there. Nope, it was 100% real. The platypus breaks every mammalian rule. It lays eggs like a reptile, has electroreceptors like sharks to detect prey, and even glows under UV light. Because why not? Evolution didn't make the platypus by mistake. It's a surviving relic of an ancient mammal branch that never got the memo about how mammals are supposed to behave. It's like if someone crossbred a duck, otter, and a scorpion, and it worked. The platypus is the ultimate proof that evolution doesn't care about consistency. It just cares about what survives. And in this case, the world's strangest mashup has been thriving for over 100 million years. Anglerfish, the deep-sea marriage horror. The anglerfish doesn't just break the rules of evolution, it rewrites them as body horror. Found in the darkest parts of the ocean, female anglerfish are the stuff of nightmares. Enormous mouths, sharp teeth, and a glowing lure dangling from their heads to attract prey. But the real insanity comes from their mating system. The males are tiny, like thumb-sized compared to females the size of footballs. When they find a mate, they bite her and fuse into her body. Their tissues literally merge until the male becomes nothing but a pair of testicles permanently attached to her side, feeding off her bloodstream. It's like if marriage involved becoming an organ transplant. Biologically efficient, emotionally horrifying. It's so extreme that it breaks the standard sexual reproduction model. Some females have multiple males fused to them at once. Evolution somehow decided, yeah, this is fine. Anglerfish prove that life in the deep sea doesn't just bend the rules, it dissolves them entirely. Forget love. Down here, romance means parasitic assimilation. Tardigrade, the immortal dust bear. The tardigrade, or water bear, is the closest thing Earth has to an unkillable alien. Measuring less than a millimeter long, it can survive radiation, freezing, boiling, outer space, and the vacuum of death itself. When things get rough, tardigrades perform the ultimate cheat code. They shut down life. They curl up into a dry husk, expelling almost all water from their bodies, and suspending metabolism to 0.01% of normal. Scientists call this state cryptobiosis. They can stay like that for decades, then revive instantly when rehydrated, like re-downloading life from a backup file. In 2007, tardigrades were exposed to open space and cosmic radiation, and they just shrugged it off. How? They produce special proteins that replace their internal fluids and prevent DNA damage. They break the evolutionary rule that says life requires constant activity and water. Nope. Tardigrades are living proof you can literally pause existence. If evolution is a game, tardigrades found the pause button and walked away undefeated. Blobfish. The gravity victim. The blobfish might be the poster child for evolution gone wrong, but it's not its fault. Deep below the ocean, where pressures are 100 times greater than at sea level, the blobfish looks perfectly normal, a streamlined jelly-like fish adapted for high pressure. But when dragged to the surface by fishing nets, the pressure drops, and its body collapses into that sad, frowning goo we all know. It's not ugly, it's decompressed. Its tissues evolved to be lighter than water, so it can float above the seafloor without swimming. Efficient, not lazy. Evolution basically optimized it for the deep, but human curiosity brought it somewhere it doesn't belong. The blobfish breaks the rule that survival equals beauty. It's a masterpiece in its own environment and a meme everywhere else. In a world that prizes speed and strength, blobfish said, "I'll just float and vibe." And it worked, until humans invented trawling nets. The blobfish is proof that evolution isn't about looking good. It's about fitting in, even if that fit happens to be under literal tons of pressure. Pangolin, the armored oddball. The pangolin is an animal that looks like evolution tried to design a reptile, realized it was a mammal, and said, close enough. Covered head to toe in keratin scales, the same stuff in your fingernails. It's the only mammal with full body armor. When threatened, it curls into a ball, turning itself into a living pine cone. It breaks the mammal rulebook not just with its scales, but with its diet. Pangolins have no teeth, using long, sticky tongues to slurp up ants like mammalian anteaters. Its tongue, by the way, is longer than its body and anchored near its pelvis. That's commitment. Pangolins are also nocturnal loners who walk upright on their hind legs, looking like stealthy little dinosaurs. Unfortunately, they're also the most trafficked animals on Earth, hunted for meat and scales. Evolution made them the ultimate survival specialists, but it didn't prepare them for humans. The pangolin is proof that nature can make miracles, but people can still break them. Glass frog, the see-through sneak. The glass frog looks like it was rendered halfway through. Found in the rainforests of Central and South America, this tiny amphibian is completely transparent on its underside. You can literally see its heart beating and its intestines working. Why? Nobody's sure. Some scientists think it's camouflage. Others believe it helps regulate body temperature. Whatever the reason, it breaks the evolutionary rule that skin is for protection, not for giving everyone a front row view of your organs. And recently, researchers discovered that glass frogs pull off a wild trick. At night, they can hide almost all their red blood cells inside their liver, becoming even more transparent. That's like humans turning invisible by shoving all our blood into one organ. It's evolution at its weirdest. A frog that said, "You can't see me," and meant it literally. It's fragile, squishy, and see-through. And somehow, that's exactly what keeps it alive. Immortal jellyfish, the time traveler. If immortality existed in nature, it'd look like Turritopsis dohrnii, better known as the immortal jellyfish. When this tiny jellyfish gets old, injured, or stressed, it doesn't die. It reverses its life cycle. Its cells literally transform back into their earliest state, turning the adult jelly into a baby polyp again. It's like a butterfly turning back into a caterpillar on purpose. Scientists call it transdifferentiation, and it's basically cellular reincarnation. In theory, it could do this forever, making it biologically immortal, though it can still get eaten or destroyed. It's a complete violation of nature's everyone dies eventually rule. Humans age because our cells can only divide so many times. The immortal jellyfish rewinds that clock endlessly. It's the ocean's Benjamin Button, looping through life like a glitching video game character. Evolution usually moves forward, but this jellyfish pressed reverse, and it works. Pistol shrimp, the underwater sniper. The pistol shrimp doesn't follow the rules of strength, sound, or sanity. Barely 2 inches long, it's armed with one oversized claw that snaps shut so fast it creates a bubble hotter than the surface of the sun. The snap produces a shock wave that stuns or kills prey instantly. It's not even the sound that kills. It's the implosion of the bubble, which reaches nearly 5,000 degrees Celsius and generates a flash of light. That's right. The shrimp basically fires plasma underwater. It's nature's smallest sniper, breaking every rule about power scaling. The pistol shrimp snap is so loud it can disrupt sonar equipment and temporarily deafen nearby fish. Scientists still can't believe something so small creates such chaos. It's like finding out hamsters can cause earthquakes. If evolution is about efficiency, the pistol shrimp nailed it. Tiny body, cosmic level weapon. Lyrebird, the master of deception. If imitation is the highest form of flattery, the lyrebird is nature's best con artist. Found in Australia, these birds can mimic almost any sound they hear. Chainsaws, car alarms, camera shutters, even human voices. They don't just mimic other birds, they mimic technology, predators, and construction equipment. Evolutionarily, it makes no sense. Most birds sing to attract mates or defend territory. Lyrebirds? They just show off. The males build elaborate display arenas and perform concerts filled with every sound they've ever heard. Scientists think the complexity of their songs is what impresses females. The more chaotic the playlist, the better the chance of scoring a mate. It's evolution as an art form, not survival necessity. The lyrebird proves nature doesn't always optimize for survival. Sometimes it optimizes for style. It's like the Freddie Mercury of the forest. Loud, dramatic, and unapologetically extra. Dragon, the universal beast. Across continents and centuries, one creature appears again and again, the dragon. From Europe to Asia, ancient people described enormous scaled beasts that flew, breathed fire, and hoarded gold. How could such similar monsters exist in stories thousands of miles apart? In China, dragons were symbols of wisdom and rain, cosmic serpents that ruled the skies, bringing prosperity and balance. They were protectors, not destroyers. In contrast, Europe's dragons were fiery demons, greedy, winged serpents slain by knights and saints, embodiments of chaos and sin. Scientists think fossils of dinosaurs or giant crocodiles may have inspired these tales. To ancient eyes, a fossilized T-Rex skull wasn't just bones. It was proof of a monster that once ruled the earth. But dragons aren't just myth, they're metaphors. In the East, they represent the harmony of nature. In the West, they're the chaos man must conquer. Every culture imagined them differently, but all agreed on one thing. The dragon is power made flesh. Basilisk, the king of serpents. Born from the egg of a rooster incubated by a toad. Yes, really, the basilisk is one of mythology's strangest predators. Medieval Europe feared it above all. A serpent so venomous that its breath withered grass and its gaze turned men to stone. Even other snakes fled from it. In some versions, it's a monstrous snake. In others, it's a crowned lizard, the king of serpents. Its only weakness? The weasel. Medieval texts claim a weasel could kill a basilisk with its smell, though both would die in the process. The basilisk's legend probably grew from exaggerated stories of cobras, whose hooded necks and piercing eyes already terrified ancient people. Basiliskos in Greek literally means little king, a name that fit its regal, deadly aura. The basilisk became a symbol of pure evil, death that comes just from looking. In a world where sight meant knowledge, the basilisk was the ultimate warning. Some truths kill. Nessie, the Loch Ness Enigma. In the misty Scottish Highlands, beneath the dark waters of Loch Ness, something allegedly stirs. Locals call it Nessie. First reported in the 6th century, Nessie reappeared in 1933 when a photograph of a long-necked monster stunned the world. The image became iconic, later revealed to be a hoax, but the legend refused to die. Eyewitnesses describe a massive creature with a serpentine neck, gliding just beneath the surface. Theories range from surviving plesiosaurs to giant eels, misidentified logs, and pure imagination. But here's what makes Nessie special. It's less about evidence and more about hope. The idea that something ancient, something prehistoric, might still lurk in the shadows of modern civilization speaks to our need for mystery. Every sonar scan and blurry photo adds another layer to a story that refuses extinction. Maybe Nessie doesn't exist, but she represents the last wild corner of the human mind. And in a world mapped to the millimeter, that's worth keeping alive. Unicorns, the holy illusion. Pure, untouchable, and impossibly beautiful, the unicorn is the most innocent of all mythical creatures. Ancient Greeks described them not as mythical, but as real animals from India. One-horned wild asses said to outrun horses. Medieval Europe transformed them into symbols of purity, grace, and divine power. In Christian art, the unicorn came to represent Christ himself, pure, sacrificed, and only tamed by a virgin. Its horn, the alicorn, was said to neutralize poison and cure disease. Nobles even paid fortunes for narwhal tusks passed off as unicorn horns. But at its heart, the unicorn is humanity's fantasy of perfection. Strength without aggression, beauty without corruption. Unlike dragons or chimeras, it's not a warning, it's a wish. And maybe that's why unicorns never went extinct, because perfection only lives in imagination, where it can't be broken. Phoenix, the bird that burns, then begins. The phoenix is fire's answer to eternity, a bird that dies in flames and is reborn from its own ashes. Ancient Egyptians told of the Bennu, a heron-like bird associated with the sun god Ra, which regenerated each dawn. The Greeks called it phoenix, meaning crimson, the color of dawn and blood. Every culture gave it a different shape. Eagle, peacock, heron, but its message stayed the same. Death is not the end. The phoenix burns when its time comes, then rises renewed, brighter than before. It became a symbol of immortality, resurrection, and resilience, later adopted by Christianity and even modern pop culture as the ultimate emblem of rebirth. Its life as an infinite loop, destruction and renewal, endlessly intertwined. In myth and metaphor, the phoenix reminds us that even the end can be beautiful, and that sometimes you have to burn to begin again. Chimera, the monster of mixed messages. Straight out of Greek myth, the chimera is a hybrid from nightmares. Lion in front, goat in the middle, snake in the tail, and fire spewing from every orifice. It was said to be born from Typhon and Echidna, the same couple that spawned Cerberus and the Hydra. Basically, the monster royal family. In the myth, the hero Bellerophon slays the chimera while riding Pegasus, firing arrows from above to avoid its flames. But beyond the myth, the chimera symbolizes unnatural fusion, parts that shouldn't coexist, forced into one. Ancient storytellers may have been inspired by fossilized skeletons of mismatched animals, fueling the belief in hybrid beasts. Today, chimera has entered science as a real term, describing organisms with mixed genetic material. Myth turned metaphor turned biology, the chimera was both warning and prophecy of monsters humans might one day create themselves. Hydra, the head that wouldn't die. In the swamp of Lerna lurked the Hydra, a serpent with multiple heads and one simple rule: cut one off and two grow back. It was another child of the monster pair Typhon and Echidna, and one of Hercules' 12 labors. When Hercules realized brute force wouldn't work, he cauterized each neck stump to stop the regrowth and finally defeated it. The Hydra wasn't just a monster, it was a metaphor. Every head symbolized problems that multiplied when confronted with violence, from war to vengeance to tyranny. In biology, the name Hydra now belongs to a real freshwater organism that can regrow itself from fragments. Immortality made flesh. Ancient myth accidentally predicted modern regeneration. The Hydra is the nightmare that keeps returning, and the reason humanity still fears what it can't kill cleanly. Kraken, the sea's living catastrophe. Before submarines or sonar, the ocean was an abyss of imagination, and at its center lurked the Kraken. Sailors off Norway and Iceland told tales of a creature the size of an island, rising from the depths to drag ships into oblivion. Its arms, said to stretch over 15 meters, could crush hulls, pull sailors under, and whip up whirlpools. The myth likely began with sightings of giant squids, whose tentacles can reach over 40 feet long. Imagine a Viking ship encountering one in fog. The result would be instant legend. Over time, the Kraken became the ocean's symbol of chaos, the embodiment of fear of the unknown beneath the waves. It's appeared in literature from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea to Pirates of the Caribbean, a timeless metaphor for forces beyond control. Every age has its Kraken, massive, mysterious, and waiting beneath the surface. Griffin, the guardian of gold. Half lion, half eagle, the griffin was born from humanity's obsession with power and treasure. In ancient Persian and Greek lore, griffins guarded gold mines in remote mountains, attacking anyone who approached. With the eagle's vision and the lion's strength, they symbolized dominance over both sky and earth. Their image appeared on shields, temples, and royal crests, a hybrid of courage and majesty. Scholars think the myth may have come from fossilized Protoceratops skeletons found in Central Asia. The curved beak and quadruped body could easily be mistaken for a lion-eagle hybrid by early traders, but symbolically, the griffin is balance, wisdom and strength united, a creature of nobility, not destruction. While dragons represented chaos, griffins guarded order. Together, they kept myth's ecosystem in check. Kitsune, the trickster fox. In Japanese folklore, few creatures are as mysterious or mischievous as the kitsune. These fox spirits could shapeshift into human form, often becoming beautiful women, wise monks, or sly merchants. Their motives varied. Some helped humans, others ruined them. Every tale represented age and power. The most ancient kitsune could have 9 tails, glowing with divine energy. Kitsune serve Inari, the Shinto god of rice and prosperity, but also embody the unpredictability of luck and intelligence. They could bring fortune or ruin, depending on how they were treated. They're symbols of transformation, of nature wearing masks, testing humanity's honesty. In modern Japan, they're still everywhere. Shrines, folklore, anime. Kitsune survived by evolving, just as they always promised they could. Baize, the Chinese beast of knowledge. In ancient Chinese legend, during the reign of the Yellow Emperor, a divine creature appeared from the mountains, the Baize. It looked like a lion crossed with an ox with 6 horns and 9 eyes, glowing with celestial light. But it wasn't a monster. It was a teacher. The Baize spoke to the emperor, revealing the names and weaknesses of 11,000 types of supernatural beings that haunted the world. The emperor recorded this wisdom in a sacred text, the Baize II, or Book of Monsters. Unlike the beasts of Western myth, the Baize wasn't feared, it was revered, a symbol of enlightenment through understanding. It reminds us that not every mythical creature is a threat. Some are guides, mirrors of our curiosity, not our terror. In a world obsessed with hunting monsters, Baize dared to teach them instead. Dire wolf. The dire wolf wasn't just a bigger wolf. It was a walking ice age problem. Living across North and South America during the last ice age, the dire wolf was heavier, stockier, and more powerfully built than today's gray wolf. It weighed up to 150 pounds, with thicker bones and a skull designed for crushing. This wasn't a fast endurance hunter like modern wolves. It was a bone-crunching specialist. Fossils from the La Brea tar pits show thousands of dire wolf skeletons, often found alongside saber-toothed cats and mammoths. That tells us something important. This animal lived in a world of giants and competed with them regularly, and it survived. Dire wolves likely hunted in packs. Imagine multiple massive canines working together, surrounding prey much larger than themselves. Giant ground sloths, young mammoths, ice age horses. Nothing was safe if the pack was organized. Unlike modern wolves, dire wolves had stronger bite forces relative to body size. They weren't just slicing meat, they were crushing bones to extract marrow. That means once they brought something down, very little went to waste. Now imagine early humans crossing into North America and realizing that the forest howls at night weren't just from regular wolves. They were from something heavier, stronger, and perfectly adapted to kill large prey. Dire wolves disappeared around 10,000 years ago, likely due to climate change and the extinction of large herbivores they depended on. When the megafauna vanished, the dire wolf couldn't adapt fast enough. Modern wolves survived because they were more flexible. Dire wolves were built for a world of giants. When that world ended, so did they. And if you're hiking alone in North America today, you can be grateful those howls are smaller now. Cave lion. The cave lion was not just a lion that lived in caves. It was one of the largest cats to ever exist, stretching up to 11 feet long from nose to tail and weighing as much as 800 pounds. This ice age predator was larger than modern African lions. It roamed Europe, Asia, and parts of North America. And unlike today's lions, it hunted in a world filled with mammoths, giant deer, and woolly rhinos. Cave paintings show these animals clearly. Early humans saw them, feared them, painted them. This wasn't a cat that stuck to small prey. Fossil evidence suggests cave lions hunted large herbivores, including young mammoths and bison. They likely hunted in groups, using strength and coordination to bring down massive animals. Their size alone would have been terrifying. Standing face to face with a cave lion would mean staring at a predator that outweighed you by several times and had claws the size of kitchen knives. Some evidence suggests cave lions may have preyed on humans. At minimum, they competed directly with early humans for territory and food. Imagine hunting reindeer, only to realize you're not the only apex predator in the area. The cave lion disappeared around 14,000 years ago. Climate change reshaped landscapes, prey populations dropped, human competition increased. But while their extinction may have been tragic for the ecosystem, for us, it was convenient. Modern lions are dangerous. Cave lions were larger, colder climate adapted, and built to survive brutal environments. If they were still around, hiking through Europe would feel very different. Giant short-faced bear. The giant short-faced bear was not just a bear. It was a skyscraper with teeth, standing up to 12 feet tall on its hind legs and weighing over 1,500 pounds. Arctidus was one of the largest land carnivorous mammals to ever exist. It lived in North America during the Ice Age and dominated the landscape. Unlike modern bears that rely heavily on omnivorous diets, this bear was built for power and speed. Long legs gave it surprising mobility. Its jaws were designed for crushing bone. It likely stole kills from other predators and hunted large prey itself. Picture a grizzly bear, now double the height and increase increase the aggression. Some scientists debate whether it was primarily a hunter or scavenger, but either way, its size made it a bully of the ecosystem. It could intimidate saber-toothed cats, dire wolves, and any human unfortunate enough to cross its path. Early humans in North America would have had to share territory with this giant. Camps, carcasses, and hunting grounds would all be contested space. When Ice Age megafauna disappeared, the short-faced bear lost its food base. It was too large and too specialized to pivot quickly. Modern bears survived because they could adapt. Arctodus could not. And honestly, that's probably good news for us, because there's dangerous wildlife. And then there's a 12-foot bear that doesn't scare easily. Crowned eagle. The crowned eagle is still alive today, but during parts of the prehistoric past, it was something far more unsettling. Larger, stronger, and potentially specialized in hunting primates. This bird of prey may have been one of the few aerial predators that actively targeted our ancestors. Modern crowned eagles in Africa are powerful enough to kill monkeys weighing over 20 pounds. They strike from above with crushing talons, capable of exerting pressure strong enough to pierce bone. Now, imagine a larger Ice Age version operating in forests filled with early hominins. Fossil evidence from South Africa suggests that ancient crowned eagles may have preyed on Australopithecus, one of our distant relatives. Skull puncture marks found on hominin fossils match the spacing of eagle talons. That means early humans were not always hunters. Sometimes they were the prey. Picture moving through dense woodland and suddenly hearing wings, not flapping wildly, but controlled, silent, focused. A shadow crosses the ground. A set of talons drops from above with perfect aim. Birds of prey are terrifying because they come from a direction we rarely defend against. Ground predators stalk, aerial predators fall. If larger crowned eagles had survived into later human history, forest travel would have been very different. Small children and isolated individuals could have been vulnerable targets. Over time, climate shifts and ecosystem changes likely reduced the size and range of these powerful raptors. Human expansion also reshaped habitats, reducing the large forest environments that supported giant aerial predators. Today's crowned eagle is still formidable, but we can be grateful that no oversized primate hunting version circles above modern forests, because humans evolved looking forward, not up. Giant stork. When you hear stork, you probably imagine a long-legged bird standing peacefully in shallow water. Now, imagine one nearly 5 feet tall, with a spear-like beak designed not for fish alone, but for small mammals. The giant storks of prehistoric eras were not gentle wetland ornaments. Some species were powerful terrestrial hunters, capable of taking down surprisingly large prey, with long legs for stride and sharp beaks for stabbing. These birds could dominate open environments. Unlike flying raptors that rely on talons, storks kill with precision thrusts of the bill. One well-placed strike can puncture organs instantly. In ecosystems where small mammals thrived, giant storks would have been efficient predators. Juvenile animals, reptiles, and possibly even small early humans could have been within their hunting range. The unsettling part is their hunting style. They don't chase wildly, they stalk, they step slowly, they wait, then they strike with surgical speed. Their size also meant fewer predators threatened them. An adult giant stork would have stood eye to eye with many medium-sized mammals. Its height alone created dominance. Climate shifts and habitat changes likely led to their disappearance. Wetlands shrank. Prey patterns shifted. Large terrestrial birds often struggle when environments fragment. But if such birds still existed in large numbers, rural landscapes would feel different. Tall silhouettes in fields wouldn't just be scenery, they'd be active predators. Storks today are mostly harmless fish eaters, but their extinct relatives remind us that even elegant birds can evolve into something far more formidable. Deinosuchus. Deinosuchus means terrible crocodile. That name is not exaggeration. This prehistoric crocodilian lived during the age of dinosaurs and could grow over 30 feet long. Its skull alone was over 6 feet long. Its bite force rivaled that of Tyrannosaurus rex. And unlike some dinosaurs, Deinosuchus did not rely on speed. It relied on ambush. Lurking in rivers and coastal waters, it waited for prey to approach the shoreline. Fossil evidence shows bite marks on dinosaur bones matching Deinosuchus teeth. That means even large dinosaurs were not safe near water. Now imagine this creature surviving into later eras. Any large animal drinking from a river would be vulnerable. The waterline would be a zone of constant danger. Deinosuchus had thick armor plating across its back. It was not easily easy to injure. Once it clamped down, escape was unlikely. It likely disappeared as ecosystems shifted and marine reptiles and other competitors rose and fell. Large crocodilians are sensitive to climate changes and habitat shifts. Modern crocodiles are dangerous, but Deinosuchus operated on a different scale. If something that size still lived in modern rivers, bridges, and boats would feel very small. Titanoboa. Titanoboa was not just a big snake, it was the largest snake ever discovered, and it lived after the dinosaurs went extinct. That means mammals, early ancestors of modern animals, shared swamps with something that could swallow them whole. Stretching over 40 feet long and weighing more than a ton, Titanoboa ruled the warm wetlands of prehistoric South America about 60 million years ago. It was thicker than a grown man's torso and longer than a city bus. Unlike venomous snakes, Titanoboa killed by constriction. It wrapped around prey and squeezed. The pressure would have been immense, easily crushing ribs and stopping blood flow within minutes. Large crocodile-like reptiles were likely part of its diet. That alone tells you the scale we're dealing with. Titanoboa thrived in a greenhouse world. Temperatures were hotter, humidity was extreme, warm-blooded predators struggled, but cold-blooded giants like Titanoboa thrived. It didn't need speed, it needed patience. Lurking in murky water, blending into swamp vegetation, it waited. When prey came close, it struck. There would be no dramatic chase, just impact, coils, and silence. The reason Titanoboa disappeared likely comes down to climate cooling. As Earth's temperatures dropped, giant reptiles lost their advantage. Smaller snakes adapted. Titanoboa could not maintain its massive size in cooler conditions. Today, the largest snakes in the world are impressive, but none approach Titanoboa's scale. If a 40-foot constrictor still lived in tropical rivers today, every canoe trip would feel like a gamble, and the water would never feel safe. Gigantic aquatic scorpion. Before sharks dominated oceans, something else did. Sea scorpions, known as eurypterids, were ancient arthropods that ruled Paleozoic seas. Some species grew over 8 feet long. Imagine a scorpion. Now stretch it to the size of a kayak and give it paddles. These creatures were not insects. They were relatives of modern scorpions and horseshoe crabs, but they were built for aquatic dominance. Their front appendages could grasp prey. Some had spined claws for trapping fish. Others had broad paddles for swimming. Their bodies were armored, segmented, and intimidating. At their peak, sea scorpions were apex predators. They hunted early fish and other marine life. Some species may have ventured into brackish or freshwater systems. Their size alone made them formidable. An 8-foot arthropod with grasping claws is not something you want brushing against your leg in shallow water. Eventually, fish evolved stronger jaws and better mobility. Competition increased. Oceans changed. Sea scorpions gradually declined and disappeared. Today, scorpions are small desert creatures, but imagine coastal waters patrolled by armored, paddle-limbed predators with grasping claws and alien faces. The ocean is already deep and dark. It does not need 8-foot scorpions added to the equation. Anomalocaris lived over 500 million years ago during the Cambrian period. It looked like something designed by an alien biologist. It had large, grasping appendages at the front of its body, compound eyes capable of advanced vision, and a circular mouth lined with hard plates designed for crushing prey. At nearly 3 feet long, it was enormous for its time. In the Cambrian seas, most creatures were small, soft-bodied, and vulnerable. Anomalocaris changed that. It was one of the first true apex predators. Its eyes were highly advanced, possibly capable of detecting motion and light with incredible precision. That means it could track prey visually in ways few organisms at the time could match. It swam by undulating side flaps along its body, gliding smoothly through water. Then it would extend its spiny arms and grab. For early marine life, this was a revolution in terror. Eventually, armored prey evolved thicker shells. Fish diversified. New predators emerged. Anomalocaris faded into extinction. But it marked the beginning of something important: the arms race between predator and prey. It proved that even 500 million years ago, evolution was experimenting with monsters. If you've watched to this point, slam that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. This helps us to rank better in the YouTube algorithm.